Alright, apparently I've been caught in a bit of a knife review kind of talk mode tonight. Um, I've been trying to figure out what knives I want to keep and which ones I want to sell. I just want a couple. I mean, I'm still going to have probably like 20 knives, but I just want a couple knives that I'm going to use a lot, like one camp knife and one kind of general purpose hiking camp knife that possibly could be used as a hunting knife, that kind of deal. So I've been looking at a few different knives. A couple of them been looking at is the Cold Steel SRK and the Recon Scout. I just picked up the SRK because I wanted to see what it looked like compared to the Recon Scout, and the SRKs are very affordable, which is nice. And I really like both knives. I really wish this handle was on this knife. I like how it sticks out a little bit at the bottom, so if you're chopping, I mean, that would be perfect for this knife. This is a chopper with this almost 8-inch blade. This one is a 6-inch blade. And you can see there's a lot more meat to this knife. You can probably look at their thicknesses. I'm not sure if I can, because I can't really stand this guy up. But either way, the Recon Scout is beefy AF. And the SRK is still pretty beefy for its blade size. It's not thin, but it's not thick either. This one's quite thick, and it's got a full flat grind, which is nice, which means it's still got a good cutting edge for finer tasks and stuff, and it's good for splitting wood because it's basically just a big wedge, which I like as a camp knife if I'm like splitting kindling or anything like that, or for a survival knife. And I could use this as a hunting knife too. I could use it as a hunting knife, but I meant a hiking knife. So this is clearly much lighter weight. This is, I think, about 14 ounces, if I remember correctly. It's not light, but it's not heavy, but it's balanced really well, though. It feels like it handles like a smaller knife, despite its weight. It handles really nicely, which is really interesting. This thing almost feels like a toy in comparison, but I mean, it's a smaller knife. One thing I noticed is the little grips on the SRK are quite prominent, these little stipples or whatever you want to call them. And then on the Recon Scout, they're very small and subtle. You almost feel like you get a lot less grip on this knife. But it doesn't feel like it's going to fly out of your hands or anything. It just feels like it's less. And I also noticed the grip on this is much meatier than on this, which is much thinner. There's no kind of swell in the middle like on this one, which actually would be nice. I do though like the appearance of the handle. It's gonna cut that what they call it, the coffin look of an original kind of old Western style Bowie. So I do like both these knives. Even though the Cold Steel is not a super practical knife for a lot of uses because of this guard here, there's just something about it that I really like. It just handles nice. It looks really nice. You can kind of use it for finer tasks. You've got this little area kind of cut out here, but it's not really intended to be, I don't think it's intended to be like you can fit your finger in there. You just gotta be careful not to cut yourself because the blade is right there. But you could definitely get on top of there for finer tasks, and you just have to move your hand away from the grip because of this guard gets in the way. So if you put the guard next to your thumb, then it's not so bad. But if you try to put your thumb over the guard, it definitely digs into your thumb pretty good. If you have bigger hands, it wouldn't be as bad. I've got maybe medium-sized hands, so not very big. And I just like the way the blade is designed. It's a good general-purpose blade. You could stab a grizzly bear if you had to, even though if a grizzly bear's on top of you, probably already dead. But it would make like a decent fighting knife. Not that hopefully anybody's knife fighting, because that doesn't sound like any fun. But yeah, good chopper. You can hold it kind of pretty low and chop. It doesn't feel like it's going to come out of your hand, but I'd probably put a lanyard on for that. It is a little bit bulky of a knife to be carrying around. I was trying to figure out which ways I would carry it if I had Scout carry it, but because the handle's very long as well as the blade, it makes it a little bit more cumbersome, so I'd probably just have it drop down on my leg, just the way the sheath kind of is set up here. Just have it drop down. Maybe you could move these screws down just one more, and then it kind of sits a little higher. But then you'd be digging into your ribs if you bend over or anything like that. So probably not. I did notice something interesting about these two knives. This is an older version of this knife. They only make them in CPM 3B now. This is probably the 01 tool steel version. I don't know how to tell, to be honest, but this one will actually click in, and it shakes a little bit, and it clicks out. Whereas the SRK, also like the appearance of the SRK sheath better. It's a little bit more low profile, but that's because this guy has guards on it. The SRK just kind of slides in. It doesn't really click or anything, but it's not going anywhere. Like, there's no way in heck this thing would fall out of the sheath by accident. Whereas I feel like on the Recon Scout sheath it could. And maybe that's just this sheath for this knife. I have no idea. But the SRK fits really nicely into its sheath. And it's a very nice knife for the price. This is another thing, is price is important too. This knife I bought for around $80 when all was said and done after taxes and stuff, which isn't Canadian money. It's probably like $50 American. This knife I bought used for about $185. But I still feel like it's worth every penny of that. It's just a nice knife. But, you know, it's still more than twice the price of one of these. Does it feel like twice the knife? Yeah, it feels like twice the knife. Is it twice the knife? No. It's not twice the knife, but it feels twice the knife. If I was going into an apocalypse, I would take this knife. It's just beefy AF. It's not going to break on you. This one just feels a little bit like it's just because it's a smaller knife. It feels toyish compared to this knife. It's just when I go back and forth. But definitely this is a nice knife. It's a good like little truck knife or something, because you're not really worried about it. It's cheap. So yeah, I thought I'd just have a quick discussion about my philosophy of use for my knives. I'm trying to figure out which knives I'm going to keep, which I'm going to sell. This Ontario SP10 is probably going to go. I've got a much bigger chopper blade than this. That was custom made. Well, it wasn't custom made, but it was made by Frank from Knives by Hand. And if anyone's curious, it is one of the versions of the Frank Bowie that I have. This isn't that, obviously. This is the Ontario SP10 Raider, which is like a 10-inch blade. Big old Bowie knife. Fairly heavy, but not as heavy as my other chopper. But I do like the handle much better on this one. Very well designed handle. And again, you got the bloody guard in the way, so you can't do like finer stuff easily with this knife. Which reminds me, area for your finger if you want it. But very nice knife. Sheath doesn't look nice, but it's very functional and seems very durable. So yeah, hopefully someone got a kick out of watching this video, and it's always interesting to see. I haven't seen many videos that compare the SRK to the Recon Scout as far as size go. And you can see, you know, the Recon Scout is much larger of a knife. There's just something about this knife. I don't know what it is, but I do really like it. I can't put words to it. There's just something about it. I'm probably just gonna keep this knife. It's a beautiful knife. Probably keep this one too because it's cheap, but I just wanted to see what the comparison was. But yeah, thanks for watching, folks. Have a great day.